Hello Bookish friends, welcome to the From Pages to Screen video that I'm doing for Jane Austen July. Since I'm doing a Pride and Prejudice theme, Jane Austen July this year, I will compare the 5 available period drama adaptations of Pride and Prejudice with the original novel. Pride and Prejudice is the second novel published by English author Jane Austen, published in 1813. A novel of manners, it follows the character development of Elizabeth Bennet, the protagonist of the book, who learns about the repercussions of hasty judgments and comes to appreciate the difference between superficial goodness and actual goodness. Mr. Bennet, owner of Longbourn Estate in Hertfordshire, has 5 daughters, but his property is entailed and can only be passed to a male heir. His wife also lacks an inheritance, so his family faces becoming poor upon his death. Thus, it is imperative that at least one of the daughters marry well and support the others, which is a primary motivation driving the plot. Pride and Prejudice has consistently appeared near the top list of most loved books among literary scholars and the reading public. It has become one of the most popular novels in English literature, with over 20 million copies sold, and has inspired many derivatives in modern literature. For more than a century, dramatic adaptations, reprints, unofficial sequels, films, and TV versions of Pride and Prejudice have portrayed the memorable characters and the themes of the novel, reaching mass audiences. Including this year, I read Pride and Prejudice 4 times. The first one was actually an abridged adaptation that I read when I was in middle school, trying to learn English. And having read all of Jane Austen novels, I can say that this novel is my second favorite Jane Austen novel, with a rating of 10 out of 10. I think this book is a very successful romance novel, as well as a very good, quite witty portrayal of the English society of those years. I think it is the most plot-driven book of Jane Austen, which makes it even easier to read than her other novels. And Elizabeth Bennet is my favorite heroine because of the character development that was mentioned in the introduction of the book. So it is a classic book that is very close to my heart. There exist 5 available period drama adaptations of Pride and Prejudice. The first adaptation is 1940 American film adaptation starring Greer Garson and Laurence Olivier. It is directed by Robert C. Leonard. The screenplay was written by Aldous Huxley and Jane Murphy, adapted specifically from the stage adaptation of Helen Jerome, in addition to Jane Austen's novel, of course. The film was released on July 26, 1940 in the United States by MGM and was critically well received. The New York Times film critic praised the film as the most deliciously pert comedy of old manners, the most crisp and crackling satire in costume that we in this corner can remember ever having seen on the screen. The second available adaptation is 1967 BBC television 6-part serial marking the 150th anniversary of the death of Jane Austen. The TV series was directed by Joan Craft and starred Celia Bellarmine and Louis Fiander as the protagonist Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. Unlike most of Craft's work for the BBC, this serial has survived intact. Although it is unavailable on home media, it can be found online. It is also the earliest television adaptation produced by the BBC to exist. The 55-minute teleplay from 1938 and the 1952 and 1958 serials are all considered lost. The third adaptation is also a TV series adaptation produced in 1980. The screenplay was adapted by British novelist Fay Walden. It is a co-production of BBC and the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. The 5-episode dramatization stars Elizabeth Garvey as Elizabeth Bennet and David Rintoul as Mr. Darcy, and Peter Settelen, Priscilla Morgan, Maury Watson, and Sabina Franklin in the supporting roles. The most famous adaptation is 1995 adaptation, which is adapted by Andrew Davies from Jane Austen's novel, of course. It was produced by Sue Birtwell and directed by Simon Langton. The serial was a BBC production with additional funding from the American A&E network. Jennifer Ahle and Colin Firth starred as Elizabeth Bennet and Fitzwilliam Darcy respectively. The series also stars Adrian Dukes, Alison Steadman, Benjamin Whitrow, David Bamber, Susanna Harker, Crispin Bonham Carter, and Lucy Scott. BBC One originally broadcast the 55-minute episodes from 20th of September to 29th of October 1995. The series was critically acclaimed and a popular success. Pride and Prejudice was honored with several awards, including a BAFTA Television Award for Jennifer Ahle for Best Actress and an Emmy for an outstanding individual achievement in costume design for a miniseries or a special. The role of Mr. Darcy elevated Colin Firth to stardom. A scene showing Firth in a wet shirt was recognized as one of the most unforgettable moments in British TV history. The New York Times called the adaptation a witty mix of love stories and social conniving, cleverly wrapped in the ambitions and illusions of a provincial gentry. And the last period drama adaptation is from 2005. It is a historical romantic drama film directed by Joe Wright. The screenplay was written by screenwriter Deborah Moga. In this movie, Keira Knightley stars as Elizabeth Bennet, while Matthew Macfadyen plays Mr. Darcy. The film also stars Brenda Blayton, Donald Sutherland, Rosamund Pike, Jenna Malone, Tom Hollander, Penelope Wilton, and Judi Dench. The movie was produced by Working Title Films in association with Studio Canal, and it was released on 16th of September 2005 in the United Kingdom and 11th of November in the United States. This film was marketed to a younger mainstream audience. Austen scholars stated that Wright's work created a new hybrid genre by blending traditional traits of the heritage film with the youth-oriented filmmaking techniques. Pride and Prejudice was successful at the box office. It received positive reviews, especially Keira Knightley's performance. It was nominated to 4 categories at 78 Academy Awards, including Best Actress from the 20-year-old Knightley. The film received other accolades, including the BAFTA Award for Outstanding Debut by a British writer, director, or producer for Wright. In From Pages to Screen video series, I compared the adaptations with the original work according to 4 criteria: faithfulness to the book, casting choices, acting quality, and my IMDB rating. As for faithfulness to the book, I would have to give 1940 adaptation a minus. Although there are some similarities with the plot, it's a bit like a retelling of Pride and Prejudice. Actually, Laurence Olivier was a fan of the original work and did not like the changes that were made in the movie. 1967 version gets a check. Most of the time it is faithful to the book, but the character of Mary Bennet was omitted, which is a significant difference. For 1980 version, I think this version was the most faithful one, and it followed the book almost sentence by sentence. 1995 version, although there were some changes, especially regarding the character of Mr. Darcy, it was mostly faithful to the book. As for 2005 version, the producer admits that he had made some changes to the book, especially regarding the family dynamics. It's not a difference that is as big as the 1940 version, so it's a check. For casting, 1940, 1967, 1980 and 1995 versions all starred actors much older than the characters in the book. They all got a check from me. The actors in 2005 version were much more age appropriate. Especially Keira Knightley was at the same age as Elizabeth. The other actors also quite fitted to their ages and their appearances. For acting, although Laurence Olivier did not like acting in this movie, I thought he acted quite well. It was Greer Garson that I found a bit overacting. The supporting actors were all okay, so it's a check. I really liked the actor in 1967 version. The dynamic between the lead was very noticeable, and their scenes were quite delightful to watch in spite of the very bad quality of the copy that I watched. 1980 version, they were all fine. They showed nothing extraordinary in the roles, so it's a check. 1995 version, I think, shines in the acting category. Especially regarding Colin Firth. Mr. Darcy is a very shy character and quite antisocial. But his passion for Elizabeth, especially in the first section, is felt in his eyes and his gestures, which is a very, very big accomplishment. Jennifer Ehle was also very, very lively Elizabeth. I also really loved the supporting actress, especially Mrs. Bennet in this version. So it's definitely a plus. For acting in 2005 version, Keira Knightley was very, very good. But I cannot say the same thing for Matthew Macfadyen. He seems like a very sweet person, but I do not get the energy of Mr. Darcy from him. I felt like he was a lovesick puppy. Although Mr. Darcy was very much in love with Elizabeth, he was never that vulnerable. And I also really love the scene with Catherine de Bourgh with Elizabeth Bennet in this version. I think that scene was the best scene in the movie. Overall, I have to give this version a check. As for my IMDB ratings, I gave 1940 version a 6 out of 10. It's not a very good adaptation, however, it's a quite funny movie. The 1967 version, although, like I said, I really like the acting, the production quality was quite poor, so it's a 7 out of 10. 1980 version also got a 7 out of 10 from me. It's not a bad adaptation, but it's a very, very forgettable adaptation. 1995 adaptation is my favorite Jane Austen adaptation. I actually did a ranking of all of the period drama adaptations, and this adaptation was the only adaptation that got a 10 out of 10 from me. Lastly, although it seems a bit controversial, I gave 2005 adaptation a 7 out of 10 too. Although I really liked the cinematography and acting of Keira Knightley and Judi Dench, I did not feel the great love story between Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy in that adaptation. This was my comparison of 5 available period drama adaptations of Pride and Prejudice with the original book. Please comment down below what is your favorite adaptation. If you are a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, since most famous scene of my favorite adaptation takes place in a lake, I thought lake should be the word of the day. Lake means girl in Turkish, and girl is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.